Tiny Kox, welcome to the Mediabox. Your two reports are in a way linked, but they deal with a very difficult subject, the budget for the Council of Europe and the expenditure for the Parliamentary Assembly. Now, the budget for the Council is now going over 4 years. This is something that the Assembly has favoured. What difference will that make?
It has been the proposal of the Assembly for a long period already that we should take care that our plans are accompanied by a budget for the same period, but that is until now a bridge too far for the Committee of Ministers. So we have now a 4 years strategy, and we have a biannual budget. That is something, as I said, that was already long asked for by the Parliamentary Assembly, and I will meet with the responsible ambassador for the budget, Danish Ambassador Lawson, next week. And then I will also propose that in the future, if we have a 4-year plan, we should also have a 4-year budget.
Now, it's been a difficult time, of course, because of the COVID epidemic. As a result, a lot of meetings, well, all meetings have been held virtually rather than face-to-face. I know you'd like to get back to the face-to-face way of meeting. How does that help? In what way is it better to meet that way?
It's better for all kinds of reasons, Jim, but also for financial reasons, because it looks like it would be cheaper if you all can stay at home and meet in a virtual way. But the cost of interpretation and all other costs are far higher than normal meetings. So it's cheaper to meet in person, but of course it's also for politicians, but also for normal people, better to meet face to face, because then you can indeed use all aspects of communication. It's no problem to meet virtually to discuss some items, but in general, I say in my report that we should go back as soon as possible to person-to-person meetings. That is normal human behavior, and that helps a lot to solve problems. And we have plenty of problems in the Council of Europe, as you know.
Of course, more problems now because of the pandemic, I guess, than if it hadn't arrived. What do you see as the priorities? What does the Council and what has the Assembly got to get down to first?
I had the honor also to draft a report on the strategic priorities according to the Parliamentary Assembly that was adopted in last April part session with a large majority. And I was very happy to learn that in last week's meeting of our Ministers of Foreign Affairs, who met virtually with the German presidency, that my report, the report of the Assembly on priorities, was taken into account, as well as the proposals made by the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. And in that report, we underline that sticking to the core business of the Council of Europe to protect human rights, a rule of law and democracy, and to do that in an effective way and in a transparent way should be the priority of the Council of Europe. And as said, our proposals of the Assembly have now been taken into account, and that's I think one of the reasons that I am invited to address the Committee of Ministers next week on the financial part of these priorities.
In the expenditure part, you talk about you want to strengthen the action of the Assembly in the field of standard setting, monitoring and implementation cooperation of activities, improving strategies and synergies. Can that be done given the budgetary restraints that inevitably the Council and the Assembly must face?
It's not easy because, of course, due to the pandemic, there are a lot of extra costs for all the member states. But I will also say tomorrow in the Standing Committee that everything has its price. There's no such thing as a free lunch, but there's also not such a thing as a free democratic security and a free promotion and protection of human rights, the rule of law and democracy. So the member states have to realize that if they do not pay the costs that go along with the new strategic priorities, which are very ambitious, then we fool ourselves. Because if we say on the one hand, we want to do all these very important things for over 800 million citizens of Europe, and on the other hand, we cannot afford the money that goes along with that, then we fool ourselves. And to be clear, yes, the Council of Europe costs a lot of money. It's cost a quarter of a billion euros per year in the ordinary budget, and we add to that half the same amount of money. So in total, the Council of Europe cost, you could say, €500 million per year. But if you compare that, for example, with the European Union, then the Council of Europe costs per year what the European Union costs in a day. So we also have to see that the price of these important goals of the Council of Europe is affordable, I would say, to member states. The contributions are high, but if you compare that with other international organizations like the EU, it's peanuts.
And the fact is that those member states, though, are themselves facing difficulties. Many of them have lost money. They've had to compensate businesses and individuals along the way. It's going to be more difficult to persuade them to part with the money, isn't it?
You could say that, but to recover, to rebuild your democracy, to rebuild your economy, to rebuild your social rights, it is far more preferable that you can use all the tools that the Council of Europe has to offer to you than to do it all by yourself. So working together, working in synergy of 47 member states is, at the end of the day, far cheaper and far more effective than doing all these difficult jobs all by yourself. So I hope, and I think after the ministerial conference of last week, that our ministers are prepared to put their money where their mouth is. And I'm very much in favor where their mouth was, because their priorities are also the priorities of the Assembly. But as said, nothing is for free. Everything has its price. And I think this is a reasonable price that I propose and that the Assembly proposes.
Tiny Kox, thank you very much indeed for joining me.